Hi, it's Tuesday night at 6:30, which means it's time again for what we're reading. My name is Kate, and I'm an assistant branch librarian at the Amy Van Andel Library here in Ada. And I'm filling in tonight for Penny, who's on a well-deserved vacation visiting her son out on the East Coast. But in the meantime, I have some really great guests to introduce you to, and they've got some great book selections. So I'm just going to kind of go around the horn here and we can kind of get to know some of these people. So first, right here to my right is Caitlin. If you could wave as I mention you, that would be wonderful. That's Caitlin. She is also an assistant branch librarian at the Amy Van Andel Library, and she will be talking about a book coming up here in a minute. Next to her is Julia, and Julia is also an assistant branch librarian at our library. Next is Brandy. Brandy's over here in the corner with the peace signs. And Brandy is our amazing sub. She fills in at all 20 branches. Whenever we need her, she's there for us and is super helpful and wonderful. We love her. And then we've got Riley, who is an intern at the East Grand Rapids and Amy Van Andel branches. And she's also amazing, super helpful, and we love her. And then next to her is Sarah, who's an assistant branch librarian, also with our library. And she is, I'm sure, going to have like a really good book. She's into like sci-fi and super fun stuff. So I can't wait to hear what she has. And then we have Liz, who is our branch librarian with a youth focus. And she's sitting in our courtyard tonight at the Amy Van Andel branch, decked out for summer. So I'm going to kick it off here with an audio book that I recently got to listen to. It is called The House. I'm trying to get it in here. The House in the Cerulean Sea, and it's by TJ Klune. Now, this book was actually recommended to me by another assistant branch librarian here at our library, Stacy, who, like, I could just tell when she was talking about it how much she loved this book. And I decided to go with the audiobook version of it, which completely blew me away. The narrator of the book, his name is Daniel Henning, and it's like having 10 voice actors in one recording. Like, he is just so talented and amazing. Like, he's just wonderful. It's about this little group of misfit children who happen to find family with each other. And this book talks about all different kinds of love, the love you have for your parents, the love you have for your kids, for your closest friends, for romantic love in all of its different shapes and sizes. And I know we're seeing a lot of that these days in the media, but this is just a heartwarming, like, just full of love and warm, comforting kind of read. So I cannot recommend it enough. Again, it is called The House in the Cerulean Sea, and it's by TJ Klune. So we're going to move on now over to Caitlin, my friend Caitlin. And I can't wait to hear what she has. I'm going to unmute you there. Hi, Caitlin. And you can go right ahead whenever
Hello.
you're ready. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yay.
All right. So I do like to create lists when I'm trying to figure out what the next book I'm going to read is, but I'm obviously always drawn to really good covers or stuff that I see all the time. So I saw this one in our teen section, and I've been reading a lot of nonfiction lately. So I was like, let's go lighthearted. Let's go all the way. So this is a romance book. It's called I'll Be the One, and it's by Lila Lee. It's about a young teenage girl who signs up for a Korean pop star competition. It focuses on her journey through it. She's very driven. She's very ambitious. So I'm very, very admirable of her qualities there. She also has a lot of body positivity moments in the book. So that's kind of a huge push in the narrative too, is that she's going into this competition for singing and dancing, but she's fighting an uphill battle since she's plus size. And especially, they talk a lot about the cultural aspects of plus size people since she's Korean. And so we get to kind of talk about the themes around that. And it also talks about some of her relationship with her mother. It's a great book. It sounds a little heavy right now, but it's actually a very good, fun, lighthearted book because she is such a strong personality and she does break through those things. And plus, it's also fun. You know, there's crushes, there's things like that. So, I already have a crush on Henry Cho, which is one of the other characters in the book. That's kind of a famous son of some Korean stars that lives in LA with her. And so it's really fun. It's really lighthearted. I'd highly recommend it, especially if you're just looking for a good time.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting. What is that a adult fiction?
Oh, it's a
Oh, okay.
teen romance.
I missed that part. That's awesome. Okay, cool. I don't read a lot of teen, but that sounds like something I might like. So it's going on the list. Thank you. All right, Miss Julia, you are up whenever you are ready.
All right. Hey guys. So I'm currently reading Girl Giant and the Monkey King by Van Hoang. It is a kind of middle grade sci-fi fantasy book. It is about a girl named Tom who is Vietnamese American living in Georgia, and she is 11 and she's just trying to fit in at her middle school. But she's finding it really hard because she also has super strength. So she's like trying to keep this like under wraps so that she can fit in with the other kids, but at the same time, things keep happening and it's becoming harder and harder for her to kind of like keep that covert. When she meets the Monkey King, who is a prominent character in Chinese and Vietnamese mythology. He's most well known in the epic novel Journey to the West. So she meets him and he's also super strong, being a demigod thing. And so he kind of teaches her like how to use her powers and how she can use it to, instead of, she's afraid she's always going to hurt people, but he teaches her that she can use it to help people instead. And it's just really kind of like uplifting, very fun, great book about like trying to fit in for like middle schoolers.
I love it. That sounds awesome. It's totally something out of my wheelhouse, though. So I would have to like really try to get into this, but I need to get out of my comfort zone. I know I do. So that's a good one. Thank you.
Highly recommend.
Awesome. All right, Brandy. I'm pumped about this one because I know what you're going to do and I want to read this book. So I want to hear what you have to say. Go right ahead.
Well, I feel like you built it up so much now. But I'm reviewing the book Guncle. It's a newer book, and I be honest, I was kind of drawn to it by the cover. All the bright colors and the kids and the drinks and so forth. So, but the story is about really centers around an uncle and his niece and nephew. The book starts out with the two children have lost their mom to a long illness. And you find out that the dad, during dealing with the illness, has become addicted to some pills. So he wants to go to rehab to get himself right before taking over the children. So they head off to Uncle Patrick's house. Now, Guncle is what at home the kids and the parents have called Uncle Patrick because he's gay Uncle Patrick. So they've called him Guncle, which I'm kind of like, but Patrick takes no offense to it and thinks it's fine. So he loves his niece and nephew, but when it comes to visiting, but taking care of these kids, he's a little bit out of his league because he lives in Palm Springs, and the kids are from Connecticut, so the climate is a little different, but Uncle Patrick likes to wear caftans around the house. And just when you read a book that you can already picture as a movie, that's how I was reading this book. When I would picture the uncle, I don't know if you guys know who John Michael Higgins is. I'm not sure if I would just from but he's the guy from, if you can see that, from
Yes.
Pitch Perfect or Best in Show. I couldn't see anybody else being this uncle when I was reading the book. But Maisie and Grant, they're 9 and 6, but a lot of the times his snarky one-liners go right over their head. But what you learn during the story is he's really focused on helping them trying to get over their grief. He's got his own grief that he's trying to get over as well. He's was once a big celebrity and he lost his partner years ago and he really hasn't gotten over it. So during the story, there's so many touching moments where he's trying to help them, but the kids are really helping him too. And one of the funny moments that the children bond over is the first night they spend in the uncle's home. The little boy goes into the bathroom and he has like this Japanese like 2.0 toilet. It's got a night light in it. It has like a day, and the kids are anyway. The uncle and the kids, they really bond over this toilet that's lit up like a Christmas tree. Anyway, I highly recommend it. I mean, I laughed out loud. I mean, I even I cried a little at the end. You tear up. There's like just some really touching moments. So I just can't say enough about it. So
great. Okay, it sounds like everything I've heard is true, like how good it is. So
yeah, it's one of the books that maybe does live up to the hype. I thought.
Okay, cool. I love it when that happens because there's nothing worse than when you hear how great a book is and then you get into it and you're like, yeah, not really my thing. So, okay, thanks, Brandy. We're gonna head on down to Miss Riley, and whenever you're ready, let's hear what are you reading?
Yeah, okay. So I went kind of a different direction than everybody, but I read Queen Victoria's Matchmaking, which is historical nonfiction. So it has a really long title. It's Queen Victoria's Matchmaking, the Royal Marriages That Shaped Europe. And it's by Deborah Cadbury. So it takes place in 1890s. Queen Victoria's her 9 children are adults now, and so she has 30 grandchildren. And so her vision, her husband had already died, their vision together was to make a kind of a network through Europe, through royal marriages, to bring Europe together and to spread like English liberalism throughout Europe based on this family bond. And so this book is all the tension leading up to World War I and all the scandals of the day, the revolutions that were happening across Europe, assassinations, lots of assassination attempts. And it looks at the German royal families, Russia, so you have some of the Romanovs, you have Greece, you have Eastern Europe. And so Queen Victoria was known as the grandmother of Europe. And so it really goes through and because it's nonfiction, they use a lot of direct quotes from the letters she wrote to all her grandkids. So she had a lot of correspondence regularly. So it's just really cool to see. Usually history feels less personal just because, we're hearing it from historians. But these are like her grandkids' words directly to her, like their personal nicknames. Like you feel like you're seeing them through the lens of, more personal because it's family and you get to see, what was happening in their lives. And it was really cool to see some things that you didn't realize World War I was so like, I don't know, kind of a family conflict.
Wow, that sounds like super fascinating. I had no idea you were into historical fiction. That's awesome. I love historical fiction, but sometimes it's hard to find a good one. So, yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right. So, Miss Sarah, I hyped you up. And I'm sure, I know which book you're going to talk about too. Okay, yeah. I want to know about this one too. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
All right. I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. And I'm assuming it's pronounced Evelyn and not Evelyn because she's a very upper class British lady. So it's set in like the 1920s at a manor, and the kind of like hero of the story, somebody who has to solve the murder of Evelyn Hardcastle, but every day he has like 8 days to solve the murder, and every day he like quantum leaps into a different like guest at the party to like go around and gather all the different evidence based on who all the different people know. And it's crazy, and there's all these twists and turns. It's like Agatha Christie, but more like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. There's like, past character, like he leaves clues for like his future alter egos and stuff. And like, I'll try to like keep it away so that you can't see any spoilers, but I was like keeping notes. I was like that one, like I was like that one meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just like trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And
I know which one you're talking about.
it's just amazing. The writing is so great. He does, Stuart Turton does a great job of like showing kind of all the different characters and how they are different, while also being like that undercurrent of whoever is like quantum leaping into them. And it's amazing and a very cool mystery, but with added fun sci-fi to it.
So don't tell the answer, but I'm like want to know what the half is, like why it's 7.5. But don't say it. I'm just curious. Like
It's like a thing because he has like.
Wait, don't tell us. Don't spoil it.
Well, then why'd you ask me?
I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Like maybe.
Well, I will say that like it's 7.5 deaths is like the US release, but like in the UK and Europe, the title is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
Huh.
So half was just to make it like more intriguing.
Okay.
Works. It is kind of more interesting.
We're talking about it right now. It's working. Great. Thanks, Sarah. That's a good one. All right. And then our branch librarian, Liz, out in the courtyard.
Yay!
Hi. What are you reading?
Of course, I couldn't just bring one book. I had to bring two.
It's okay.
So, the first book I brought is called Hot Pot Night by Vincent Chen. So this is a picture book. So in Hot Pot Night, many families are trying to decide what to have for dinner, and they all agree that they should have hot pot. So everybody brings an ingredient for hot pot, which is a Chinese soup. So some bring noodles, and some bring meat, and some bring the broth, and somebody brings the hot pot. And they all come together, and it's a great community story about sharing a meal together. And the author, Vincent Chen, includes his family's recipe for hot pot in the end of the book. So if you feel inspired by how much fun they're kind of like Pixar-like characters are having making hot pot, you can make your own at home. So it's really cool. I didn't know about hot pot, so it made me want to make some as well. And it's kind of written like a chant, kind of like a song. So I'm super excited to be able to read this at Storytime in the future. But Hot Pot Night by Vincent Chen is one that I would recommend. So I have one more, if I may.
You may, yeah, of course.
You go together. So I also brought Measuring Up, which is a graphic novel by Lily Lamott and Anne Shu. And in this book, Cece is moving from Taiwan to Seattle with her family. And she's never lived in the United States before. And she moves, and her grandmother really misses her. They have a really special relationship. So she's feeling kind of out of place. She doesn't have a lot of friends. She really wants to bring her grandmother to visit her in Seattle, but the plane tickets are so expensive, she can't afford it. So she enters a cooking competition for kids, thinking that she can win the prize because she cooked with her grandmother and she can cook them her Taiwanese food and win the competition, and then her grandmother can come. But she doesn't realize that nobody in the competition has ever eaten Taiwanese food, and she doesn't know how to cook American food. So she ends up paired up with another girl in the competition, and they kind of learn from each other how to cook each other's food. So she gets some understanding of American culture. She's also trying to fit in at school, and her parents are very strict and they don't want her having sleepovers. She gets invited to a sleepover, and her mom says she can only go if her mom goes with her. And she's like, not happening. And she doesn't even tell her dad about the cooking competition because he's so focused on school and grades that she kind of has to do it in secret because she doesn't think that he would even let her participate. So she's got a few things going on, but she learns a lot. It's a lot about fitting in and being yourself. It's a great graphic novel if you like The Babysitter's Club or the Raina Telgemeier series. This would be a great one. It's a little bit I would say it's a little on the younger side even. So if you're not quite ready for all of the drama, this would be a good one to focus on family and about fitting in. So Measuring Up, I would highly recommend.
Great. Both of those are really great, and different age groups too. That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
So I just want to thank all these lovely ladies for joining me tonight. And I especially want to make note of all the diversity that you guys chose. It just warms my heart. I love it. So thank you for choosing some books that are different and kind of out of our comfort zone, and maybe can be introduced into someone watching tonight into their lives too. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday at 6:30 for another episode of What We're Reading. Penny will be back. And hopefully I get to see you guys all again really soon. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great night.